The Indigo.
The Indigo Shift. With your host, Lyles Dixon.
I'm so excited to have the one and only producer of this
thing
here behind the camera today.
in front of the camera.
Right. In front
Normally
of.
behind.
Yes, because Christian is someone who we met, just from the universe. And when I speak about things, you have questions that help me continue to speak. I'm trying to be very kind right now, and I'm just you know what I mean? Like, this is how I have emotions. But yeah, it's just really nice to have you here today. So I quit my job, and it wasn't even that much of a harsh corporate environment. It
wasn't like cutthroat.
No, it wasn't like finance, Wall Street, It was a media company, and I met a lot of wonderful people, and I'll probably stay in touch with them, blah, 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 blah. But I am so sensitive to expectation that I walk into work mask up. Like, who you are outside of work and who you are in work are completely sort of different, right? Like, that's the expectation. And I finally was just realized I can't do that, and that's okay.
A corporate environment does not foster individuality in any way. It makes you put up a farce.
There's people that can't go and conform like that.
Well, I think you're maybe tiptoeing a little bit around the idea of saying that people who fit well into a corporate environment are conforming or something like that. And I think that we can say that to a certain degree, anybody who joins a corporate environment is putting up a bit of a farce. I don't think that it truly is anybody's joy to go and put 40 plus hours of your life away to a job and have to play office politics, especially if you're trying to get ahead in whatever job you're working. I don't think anybody is like, that's me. I love this. It's a corporate persona. And people can, I think, find ways in which they fit inside of it still. They'll find I find that if I just show up and do my job and I be a nice person, right? It's less of a conformity and more of just a reshaping of myself.
I need to be able to recharge a lot. That's the way my brain works, and I just had to protect myself.
Totally. Yeah. It made me think about the fact I'm going into my second round of interviews this Friday. So tomorrow.
Yes.
Oh, God. So I'm going in for my second round of interviews tomorrow for an IT position at a library. And the idea of that, I did the corporate gig like you, and I had a very rigid schedule. I was working, I worked weekends it was a work from home job, but it was basically customer service mixed with IT. I had to deal with there were nice customers and there were rude customers and there were spammers because we was a chat service. And I was doing high level problem solving mixed with managing people's expectations about the software that they were using. And it drained the hell out of me every single day. And I worked 7 a.m. to 3 p.m., but I worked from home. So it was nice because I would finish my day pretty early and I'd have a lot of time after. But the kind of work that I was doing was just I didn't have to deal with office politics to a certain degree.
Yeah.
There was, of course, still politics and, of course, issues that I had with the structure of the company and things like that. But I didn't have to go face to face with my coworkers every single day.
Right.
Not that I didn't like my coworkers, but you can very easily find yourself in a microcosm of monotony and same people saying the same things, doing the same thing every single day. And it's if you've got a work bestie who you want to talk with, that's great, And as you're saying, talk about winter break. What'd you do? But if because you were saying your front desk, so it's you essentially were customer support to the people who work there.
Yes.
So you are this face that everybody gets to see, and you gotta, gotta.
Yeah.
That's the hardest. That is by far the hardest part of being a customer service person is that no matter what you do, you got to put on that smile. You got to activate those parts of your brain to be friendly and be happy, and you have to problem solve on top of that while doing anything else that you're going to be doing at your job. And yeah, so I left that job, or I got let go as part of a restructuring in layoffs in July of last year, and I have been unemployed ever since. And I've been applying to other jobs, and so this would be a good gig, I think. But the question is like, is this going to be going right back into that kind of corporate atmosphere that I really, really don't like?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm kind of hoping that because it's a library, that it won't be as bad.
Mm-hmm.
At least that's my hope.
Yeah.
Just the one thing that I will always miss is time,
Mm-hmm.
and having that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. I really wanted to bring up protecting your energy. I knew that I had to like protect my youth, basically. Like I have this humanity in me because I haven't done corporate America. And if I'm here 10 years later, I'm going to like, do you know what I'm saying?
Oh, totally. Yeah.
Like I have this humanity in me. And if I get it sucked out of me, which is very, very likely, that would be the biggest tragedy, right? Like when people lose their humanity, their dreams,
their joy.
And so I was like, I'm going to bring that back to this specific workplace. You know, that is the reason I'm here. And, you know, 2 years later, I'm like complaining, not spreading joy, not spreading happiness and love. And that's the scariest thing in the world, right? And so if I'm in a place where that isn't happening, get that. I'm in the wrong place. But then it goes to like the other side of my brain that's like, you know, you stayed for 2 years. You didn't have to be here. If you worked harder on yourself, then you wouldn't be burning out. But like,
that's imposter syndrome,
yeah,
for sure. And that's something that we talked about the last time too, is this idea that when you think to yourself, I'm worthless, or I should have tried harder, I didn't do enough, or anything like that, I'm false, I failed, or whatever. Those are, as Gabor Mate, I believe is how you say his name.
No
I don't
idea.
know. As he would say, those are not feelings, those are beliefs.
Yes.
Right? It is a belief that you hold that if only you had worked a little bit harder, you wouldn't be where you are today.
Right.
And it completely ignores any kind of real external stimuli and structures, and what's the word I'm looking for here? Systems that exist in our world that drain us, that break us down, that are all of these things. You know, I don't understand. Like a lot of times I go out into the world and I'm like, I don't know how anybody can exist in this, because of the very thing that we're talking about, where when I was working my corporate job, there was one thing that kind of like sealed the deal for me, which was my mom came into town to visit, and I got dinner with my mom and my girlfriend. We went to a lovely Italian restaurant, and we were just like talking, and I hadn't seen my mom in like nearly a year, like over a year, like a good period of time. And we were just like talking and eating, and the wine was good, and the food was good, and the atmosphere was good. Everything. It was just like, and I felt so full.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh my God, like I feel so good. It's so good to see my mom. It's so good to not think about work and just to be here, be present. And that is when I had my epiphany of like, oh, this is what people mean when they say their time is valuable.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Because that is all we have.
Yeah.
Right? I want my time back. If I'm going to be, and specifically, it made me go, if I'm going to be giving 40 hours plus a week of my life to something, it damn well better be worth it.
Mm-hmm.
Like it better pay well. And so that there's a level of I can understand of people being like, well, I'm putting in 40, 50 hours, but I'm making $200,000 a year, or I'm making 150, whatever, right? I'm not saying that, you know, we should all sell ourselves in that way, but I can kind of understand somebody being like, well, it's worth it to me because I'm making X amount of money. But then you look at people like ourselves who don't quite fit into. I don't claim the label of neurodivergent. I've never been diagnosed with anything in particular. I suspect that I have ADHD. I have been told by people in my life that I might be on the spectrum. I don't know if any of that is true. And it's mostly anecdotal based on things that I like, behaviors that I have, whatever. But what I do know is that I don't fit into structures like school and corporate environments. Even though I can excel in both of those spots, I find myself consumed by them in many, many ways. So for me and for people like us, our time is in essence, I feel as though our time is even more valuable to us. Because if I'm going to give 40 plus hours of my 40 plus hours a week of my life to something, I need to be properly compensated for that, and the work has to meet the reward. So I don't even think anybody should really be working 40 hours a week. I am totally for or if we are going to work 40 hours, let's truncate our work week. I'm sorry, now I'm getting into like other talking points, but it's just like, can we please just do 4-day work weeks?
Yeah.
People need 3-day weekends. We really there's nothing like 3 days of just being like, first day is like, sleep in, whatever. Second day, you're like, okay, second day off, I should get something done. Third day, you're like, wait a minute. Oh yeah, I've got one more day. Oh my, I can do something else.
2 days is ridiculous. We talk about mental health now, and like we know what our bodies need.
And 40 hours plus any kind of commute time, especially in New York City, because cost of rent means you're far away, means you're taking a train a couple hours potentially. So, and I think that there's a lot going on today, which is the beginning of 2025, January 9th of 2025, for context, that is really just everybody's been feeling it for a while. And I think people are finally starting to be like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
Like, what are we, ever since the United Healthcare killing? I think that we've all kind of just been like, yeah. And I don't want to lose that. I don't want to lose that class consciousness of everybody kind of going, wait, what the fuck are we doing? And this is how you know it's all a grift, is because because they have leases that they've paid for, but those are probably in agreement with the actual management companies that own those buildings. And so it's like, we have all these office buildings, and that's like, well, the people, the management companies that own these buildings are losing their profits, so you have to still rent them, which means that office space is still getting rented, which means that it's just sitting there unused, so you got to go back. So it's all just, it's like, this person needs money, so we do this, because this person needs money, so we do this, because this person needs money, so we do this. And Luigi said no.
The runway show he got.
Oh, dude, that perp walk was crazy.
I know.
But no, and when I say that, to be clear, that was like the fact that they had like fully armed like SWAT team walking behind him.
Yeah.
It's like, this man is not Hannibal Lecter.
Yeah.
This man is not like Thanos. Okay, he's not gonna break out of his cuffs, and you know what I mean. It's not like he's like a master of jujitsu or something like that, and he's gonna like break out of his cuffs and like snap somebody's neck. He's a guy who got fed up. The way that I put it is, violence has been perpetrated against the 99% in quiet, insidious ways and loud, obvious ways for decades and decades and decades, with minorities, women, black and brown people getting the brunt of it for a long period of time. Is that everybody's talking about like who has it worse and all of that. And this event is one of those things that sparks us and goes, we all have it pretty shit, don't we? Like, you know, there's the direct, really loud, awful violence against the LGBTQ, black and brown people, women, where people are literally being gunned down, shot, killed, murdered, choked out, beaten to death, all of that stuff. And then you have these much more quiet, insidious things that are happening, where it's like evictions and mass layoffs and denied healthcare claims and all of that stuff. And everybody's kind of taking a moment, like a big step back, and going like, holy shit, we are all, every day of our lives, we are operating under the threat of violence every single day, whether that's a direct, loud piece of violence or an indirect, quiet, insidious piece of violence. And now it's flipped. It got flipped because the systems and the pieces of control that were put into place to protect us are failing. The insanity is the response. And people might say this, well, you're condoning the violence. I actually don't condone violence at all. I am not for violence. I'm against war. I'm against summary execution. I'm against a death penalty. I am against people dying.
Period.
But I'm not exactly going to step in the way if somebody is defending themselves.
He said what he said. Sorry. I'm just adding to the beautiful words that are being said. Just look where we've gone. It's making us feel encouraged and yeah. An act of rebellion. When I feel like I'm taking this chance on my life and like doing my own thing, I feel like I'm doing it for the generations before me. Because not just my dad, my granny, her dream was to own a hair salon. She finally got the chance. Her best friend told me that Granny passed away a while ago, but she finally got the chance to own a hair salon. And it was like, she couldn't do it because the family bar was shutting down and she needed to take over the family bar. So you know what I mean?
Something else called to her and she felt like she had to.
Yeah. And so I don't know, it's like the life of this brain that I have, I'm so grateful for because it's like I have this inability to conform. Not that I don't do it because I mask sometimes and get scared and don't want people to like see me in certain ways, but like I have this resistance to conforming and it's such a little brat inside of me that's like, no, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. And there's sometimes at work where I'm like, I wish I could just be quote unquote normal, which I hate that I just said that.
I'm not even the first person to say this. I was like, man, my life would be so much better if I was just a little dumber. And so it's like, but at the same time, it's like, I don't know. I don't know.
Say what you got to say.
Yeah,
You have a good heart.
Here I go backpedaling. No, I'm gonna stay with it. I'm gonna own what I say. But no, I too. I wish that I could. I sometimes wish.
Yeah.
That I could just like exist inside this. But it's funny that you also said I'm really happy that I can't with your brain, because the more that I think about these corporate structures and things like that, the more I realize that grind set, fake it till you make it, all of these kinds of things. It's like, what are we actually attempting to accomplish? Like, what are we attempting to replicate? Like, these behaviors are learned. Who are we learning them from? And if we're learning them from people who thrive in these corporate structures, aren't we learning from people and attempting to replicate psychopathy? Like, because there's studies that say that people with higher tendencies towards, because I'm not going to say a blanket like psychopaths because that's different and it's wrong, and I'm not a psychiatrist, but people who have psychopathic tendencies or have a certain level of psychopathy, I believe is how it's said, tend to do better in these environments because, they can basically set their emotions aside and, they're not afraid to, what's the word? I don't want to make anybody who has a level of psychopathy come off as like a cold killer, because they're not. Like, everybody has levels of psychopathy and all of that.
Yeah.
Sociopathy, I don't know, whatever, sociopathy. But there's a level of it. It's like, but it's disconnected from humanity to a level. And why are we doing that? Why are we pushing more? Why is that a good thing? Mm-hmm. And what you're saying here, it's a fantastic thing that you can't slot into these things, because it would mean that you're one tick further down the line towards disconnection from everything that makes us human, in my opinion.
I used to watch the movie Divergent, and I feel like I understand that term now. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Like the ones that like they need to exterminate because they're shaking the boat.
Mm-hmm. Free thinkers.
Yeah. And I feel like the people that are like, have these voices that need to be heard, right? And then it's like, it's exhausting, right? Like to be someone who has something in them that they know needs to be said, right? Like you said, or I said, ignorance is bliss. Like,
no,
but you know what I'm saying?
Let me be clear that I see the nuance of this situation of the fact that, just about anybody can pick up a microphone and start recording these days. You know, like Like I will not sit here and posit that just because I am able to speak does not mean that I am saying fundamental truths. I'm just sharing things that I've thought about.
But I do think getting a microphone and having a show is also like, I think there is also something in that that's like is bigger thinking than maybe conforming.
So actually, what I will say in that regard is I do think that anybody who has the gumption to pick up a microphone and a camera and do this and put it out there is operating at a level that a lot of people aren't. My brain works in a way that theirs does not. They're probably great at something that I'm not. Anybody who is able to put themselves out there or to do this is operating at a level that a lot of other people are not. However, I think the difference between people who just set up and start recording and start talking about things that they felt a lot of times aren't backing it up with actual experience. Nobody can take away your firsthand experience. But if you start talking about like, I think the experience of this other person is this, even though I've never talked to a person who's having that experience and I've never had that experience, that's just talking out of your ass.
Yeah. Because of what I was like taught, I didn't think like when I would see someone like you doing something like that, I would have this pain because I knew deep down, like I can do that too. But I didn't actually believe that it was possible for me. I just like my subconscious was like in pain because it was like, I was like, I feel connected to that, but then, I could never do that. Right. So I say that because now I'm like, if I want to be one of those people, I can be one of those people. And I am, even just doing something like this, I never like would have done in high school because I was told, I just was told to conform.
You didn't believe that you could.
Because the norm in my town mostly was just like, traditional norms, like go to college, get a business degree. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's wonderful. That's great. That's fine. But like for kids that want to be artists, right? And they want to like move to the big city and like find their people. That's who this show is for, right? Like it's for the people that are not fitting in with the size. And so, yeah.
I think what we're really talking about in regards to, this difference of like my brain works one way and this brain works another way. It's like, yes, everybody's brains work differently, but the only difference between me and that person who is so impressed that I was able to do it at all is that I know that I can do it. It's no longer a belief, but they don't believe that they could. There's something blocking them. I would say that is the indigo shift. It's taking any kind of belief that you couldn't do something that has been placed there by, not to be like society, but placed there by, the environment that we've all kind of grown up in, and saying, no, but what am I actually capable of doing?
I once was the person that was like in pain, doing what I was supposed to do when I wanted to be doing other things. I am now like telling myself at any point, like I thought when I was 19, it was too late. When I was 18, it was too late. When I was 21, it was too late. Like when I was 22, it was too late. It's never too late. And I'm like probably going to have to get a new degree and do all these things. I'm basically undoing all the conditioning, right? And like, if I get to do that once in my life, that's like enough. I'm just grateful it's happening now rather than maybe 20 years from now. But that's the goal for everyone. And it's a privilege. Wow. 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 Do you ever do that? Make random noises?
Definitely. I forgot what I was going to bring up. Was I still using a flip phone when we first met? I'm trying to think of a question that isn't like you got anything lined up. And I also hate that question of like, so what's next? Or like,
it's a valid question.
But like, so of course you're going to chill out for a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, but that doesn't mean I want to not make money. Like I want to try to have gigs, like freelance, maybe do some pet sitting just to slow down the draining of the savings.
Yeah, totally.
And I want to really put my effort into this and try to get this like up and running soon. That's like how big I'm thinking, and like try to I still want to like go back to school. Mm-hmm. Oh my God. Somebody from work gave me their frickin' phone number today and I texted them, let's get coffee next week before I leave. And he responded, hi, sure. Who is this? I love that.
Piece it together.
That's pretty iconic, honestly.
Piece it together, man. If you listen to this from the past to the future, from the future to the past, piece it together.
Piece it together, man.
Who could it possibly be?
Yeah.
It's so funny.
He's probably too popular and gave his number to
A lot of people, yeah.
I'm not special.
So, can you describe executive functioning? Because I feel like I
Mhm.
hear that all the time, and I have an idea
Yeah.
of what it is. Do you know what it is?
Well, it's functioning as an executive. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
That's what I
It's
thought. I
called
was like,
having a grind set.
right. So it's basically like how you handle and process life, and like can you organize and get things done, and like basically handle tasks in your life. Like how well can you like manage?
So, like, even brushing your teeth
Yeah,
is an executive function.
I always brush my teeth. I will say, love doing that. It's actually really fun for me because I have an electric toothbrush that I really enjoy, and I also like to floss. But anyway, now that all of you suitors know that I do like to brush my teeth, yeah, I struggle with that. I struggle with basically executive function, basically like everyday tasks. But we all do. Like,
Oh, well, so this is interesting.
yeah.
So I looked up executive functions, and executive functions defined by the Cleveland Clinic are skills that you use to manage everyday tasks like making plans, solving problems, and adapting to new situations. The three main skills are working memory, cognitive flexibility, and inhibition control. These skills develop during your lifetime, often declining as you get older, but there are ways to keep and improve them. That's interesting. So, working memory, inhibition control, cognitive flexibility, which includes planning, reasoning, solving problems, and multitasking. I am good at some of these things.
Yes.
In fact, I'm incredibly good at some of these things.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very good at problem solving. I'm very good at reasoning. I'm not so good at multitasking. Sometimes I have to kind of be like locked into a single thing, but I do that single thing really, really well. I'm so on planning. Like when it comes to like something that I'm excited about, I make a plan and I stick to it, and I'm like I can make a pretty detailed plan. I'm getting better about putting things into my calendar and things like that. But just like general planning and organization, my girlfriend makes a joke that she's like my secretary sometimes because I just don't remember to put things in my calendar. I don't remember anything. And she's got to manage that. Versus inhibition control is like I have a very good amount of control over my inhibitions, like shopping or eating or drinking or whatever. I know how to set limits on myself and go, I'm just going to have like 2 drinks tonight, or I am just going to eat this one serving, or I'm going to wait until 11 a.m. to eat breakfast, or whatever, or I don't need to buy this because I don't need this right now. And working memory, I don't know. I feel like a lot of people describe their memory is not what it used to be. And I don't know what's up with that. I wonder.
Social media, like
Yeah, I think social media probably. I think also, but like, what does that mean to you?
there's like the culture of consumerism and being distracted by a bunch of things and all these sensory intakes that we're having. We're taking in so much information every day now
Yeah.
that we're a little bit messed up, you know. But for me, memory, I forget things. It's really bad.
There's a great video of this woman explaining to a group of people, and I forget the context exactly, but a lot of people get a little bit freaked out about like memory and memory issues and things like that, where it's like, you know, you're sitting on the couch and you're going to go to the kitchen to get your tea, right? So you stand up, you start walking towards the kitchen, you enter the kitchen even, and your phone dings. And you check your phone and you see you have an email from work. So you just really quickly open it up to see what that's about. And it says a mandatory meeting on Thursday to discuss the budget of this day, right? Please add to your calendar. So you add to your calendar. And while you add to your calendar, you see something else. It's like, oh, tomorrow night I have that dinner party. So I got to make sure that I got to go to, you know, the store to get it's a potluck. So I'm going to go get that,
It's like
whatever.
it's like you're inside my brain.
Right. And so then you start thinking about like, so, okay. And then what else do I have? So you check your calendar a little bit more and you just kind of reorient yourself and you go, okay, so that's up. I've got those events. Great. You put your phone away and you're like, why did I stand up? What am I doing in here? So you walk back out into the living room. And the moment you sit back down on the couch, you're like, I was going to go get my tea. And you go and you grab your tea. There's nothing wrong with your memory. There's nothing wrong. Your brain, from a short-term memory standpoint, can only handle so much information. There's nothing wrong with your brain, right? It would be, you can handle like 4 to 5 things actively in your short-term memory of like detailed like I need to do this or whatever, or like making plans or things like that. So your brain literally discarded it. It literally said, okay, that task, you're giving me new information. I need to make room for it, essentially. Like real memory issues is like forgetting where you are.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, wait, where am I? Right? What year is it? Like true memory problems related to something like Alzheimer's or dementia or just like cognitive issues are much, much more severe than just forgetting somebody's name or I don't know, like forgetting a word, not being able to recall a word or something like that is very, very normal. And I think from what you're describing too, it's like we are jamming ourselves full of shit every single day.
Yeah. Also, my executive functioning skills, like I'll forget things or make mistakes, and then that annoys your boss because whatever. I started to think like get mad at myself, like I need to put in these ways to make myself be a better worker. But that's not what you talk about in interviews. That's not what you talk about when you work with your boss for the first time. Like, this is how my brain works. Like, if that was normal, great, amazing, I'm happy for you. You don't want to like when you're like interviewing, be like, just to let you know, like my nervous system is like, you know what I mean?
Just doesn't want to work and it's talking about their
nervous system. Bitch,
what the fuck is that?
Yeah. Lots of people, once you can, tend to those needs, you're going to get such a special, unique perspective from that employee.
I was laughing because as I was listening to you talk, I was like, well, how do you translate this is how my nervous system works into corporate speak? I'm the kind of worker who needs to have a hands-on approach with their manager up until I'm given a task, and then I need hands. You know what I mean? Or like,
That's so true.
I prefer like a positive reinforcement structure, but I am not against receiving criticism if it is valid and honest and what's the word? Like find that corporate speak word.
Yeah, speak to them in their language.
And on one hand, I definitely see that as like a really good thing. If you are able to be very clear with your emotions and what you need and asking for what you want, that can actually be such a benefit in many, many instances, including the workplace. But at the same time, it's like what I'm talking about is masking. And also what I was referring to earlier is just like this idea of shifting one level closer towards psychopathy of like, I am no longer talking about emotions. I am talking about structure and work. I am talking about something outside of myself that you need to change to fit me or to fit my wants and desires. You know what I mean? Like, like that's like in a perfect world, we can all go, hey, so just so you're aware, here's how my brain works, but here's how my output looks, right? And not have to say things like output. Here are your guidelines. What can you do for me? I'm like, boom, 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 idea. Try this, try this, try this. If you need things to get done, don't just expect that I will read your mind and do them. But if you say, I need this, I need this, I need this, I need them all by Friday, I can do that, right? Maybe give me a reminder on Wednesday and Thursday. Be like, hey, just checking in. How's that looking? But I will have it done. But then if you're like, did you also do this thing? Why didn't you? That's part of the task. It's like, no, you didn't tell me to do that. Well, I shouldn't have to tell you. Actually, yeah, because I'm doing impeccable work. You just got to tell me to do it.
Yeah. Maybe finding the balance between like me, who's very like my soul, blah, 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 and like more like not corporate lingo, but their language and finding a happy medium. But I think that's the issue with.
But then you're conforming.
Yeah. And then that's the issue with someone like me who's so freaking blunt and straightforward to a point where it can be like so cringe and for maybe other people around me. But like there I am conforming, like you just said.
Again, it's I feel as though a lot of workplace stuff, and I'm sure somebody in HR would come back and be like, actually, this is mostly for everybody's protection in the workplace. Yeah. But like, of course, personal, like being personal in the workplace to a certain degree, of course. But like even things like talking about your income with other people and like income transparency. What did I just say? Income transparency. Yeah, I thought I said income transparency.
Sounds right to me.
Was for a while people thought it was illegal to talk about how much they were earning.
Yeah, it was don't ask someone that.
Exactly. And how dare you? It's such a faux pas. No, it was never illegal. And all that is a company attempting to make sure that there's not crosstalk between all of its workers who go, wait, you're making how much? I'm making way less and I don't do way less work than you. So I deserve a pay raise. I feel like all of corporate structure, and I feel like there are also going to be people who listen to this and they'll be like, yeah, no fucking duh. Like, no, welcome. It's like welcome, Neo. This is the real world. Is that all of these structures and all of these rules and these unspoken things that we're supposed to, like, these
unspoken rules.
yeah, like these
things
norms.
to go by.
Yeah,
These,
there's a word that I'm
yeah.
searching for that I can't find, but you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, but I want to know what it is.
I know, right? But these unspoken. Hold on, let me see quickly.
Unspoken norms, ways about.
Word meaning unspoken rule. Custom.
Okay, that doesn't exactly scratch the spot, but like I'll accept it.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Etiquette, protocol, custom, tradition, conventions, manners, formalities. It's all to the benefit of the company. Don't talk about your feelings of the company, because then somebody else might realize that they're unhappy too because we're overworking them or the structure doesn't work. There's something that's going to get upset.
right.
So that's where it's like, I feel like we all shouldn't conform. We should all definitely be more personable in the workspace. You know?
Yeah.
Don't talk about extremely personal things, but I mean, for God's sakes, if you've like lost somebody recently and you just like are having a rough day and somebody asks how you're doing, be like, I'm having a really rough go of it. Just, so you're aware this happened, right? Talk about it. I love that. I think we should talk more about, if we're like, is it Sweden or is it Holland or there's like a European or like Slavic country that's like well known that, Americans will travel there and they'll ask somebody, because in America it's like, hey, how you doing? It's like, oh yeah, fine. In America it's an offhand thing. But if you go there and you say like, how you doing? I'm not doing all that good because my grandmother, passed away, and it's been a long, cold winter, and the dark makes me depressed. And it's like,
Thank you.
Americans would be like,
Oh my God.
I would never talk about that. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's like,
Yeah.
well, actually, maybe we should. I read The Wisdom of Insecurity, and it's like a good little introduction to the ideas of like Zen Buddhism, amongst other things. And he talks about how we are our feelings. And the problem with attempting to like circumvent our feelings is that they don't go away. So you can't, if you are feeling sad, you have to accept that in that moment, you are sad, and that you can't distract yourself out of being sad.
I mean, you could, but it's just never going to go away.
It will still be there waiting for you
Yes.
once. So you have to go
Get it
through
out.
it. You have
Yeah.
to be with that emotion and just say, I
Acknowledge you.
am this
Yeah.
right now, right? I am this thing that I am experiencing. I am my experience. I think that, we've been kind of removed from ourselves in
Yeah.
that way.
I just want to be like present in my current struggles and beautiful things. Like say what's going on and then not be like, but it's going to be fine. Like just be like, this is what's happening. I'm human, period. People get it wrong, is that you have to be on top of the mountain in order to be successful or to be doing things right, when reality is going to be up and down, up and down. Get used to the middle, get used to the not feeling great. It's okay. Like the sitting in it and being like, well, I guess today is just that day, one of those days, or at least this morning, right now, this hour, I'm not feeling particularly inspired. But like you said earlier, would you say feelings aren't the truth or something?
No, so we don't argue with feelings. This is what Gabor Mate says. You do not you can't fight your feelings. You can't argue with them. You can't displace them. You are your feelings. You have to go through them. But things like imposter syndrome or a sense of hopelessness or anything like that, that's a belief. And beliefs can be challenged. That's the beauty of it. It's the difference between a belief and a feeling. A feeling is something that cannot be reasoned with or argued with, but a belief can be challenged, and you can dissect it and go, why do I believe this? And you can start to not believe it. You can believe the opposite. So a sense of worthlessness, right? That's a belief. I believe that I am worthlessness. I don't feel worthlessness, right? And somebody might be like, well, I know what worthlessness feels like. It's like, well, what you're feeling is probably tired and sad, angry, frustrated, all of these things. But that thing, that word hopelessness, or that overarching thing of hopelessness, is a belief that you are hopeless, because you're not hopeless. Because how many good days do you have? I think that when you try to distract yourself out of an emotion, you tend to be like, well, like I need to get back to one thing. I need to get away from this. It's like you can't. But if you sit with it, you accept it, and you go through it, you find yourself on the other side, whether you kind of were planning to or not, because they're finite. Emotions are finite, and they end.
The Indigo.
The Indigo Shift.
Shift.
With your host, Lyles Dixon.